The generosity of God is rooted in the very nature and the character of God. Central to God, the essence of who God is to be generous, because God is love. And an expression of that love is the great extravagant generosity of God. You can give without loving, but you can't love without giving. And our great, big, wonderful, loving God is a generous God. Now, any act of generosity or kindness on our part is a reflection of the goodness and the kindness of God. As we are extravagant in our generosity to others, that's an expression of the heart of God. Now, Jesus, our master, the one we follow, is the world's greatest giver and the world's greatest forgiver. And if we're going to be followers, disciples of Jesus Christ, we need to emulate that, this great generosity which is expressed in giving and forgiving. We need to be givers and forgivers. The expression of God's generosity we find all over the Bible. In John 3 verse 16, that summary of the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave. He was extravagantly generous. He gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believed in him would not perish, but have everlasting life. In Romans 5 verse 8 says, God demonstrated, God showed his love towards us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Again, an expression of a generous God. In Mark 10 verse 45, it says of Jesus that he came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and give his life a ransom for many. Again, an expression of the generous love of Jesus and the generous love of God. In Luke 23 verse 34, as Jesus is hanging on the cross, dying an agonizing death, feeling the excruciating physical pain, feeling emotionally rejected and alone, feeling what it must feel like spiritually to become the sin and the filth of the world. Out of that excruciating pain and physical and emotional spiritual agony, he still cries out and he chooses to say, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. Again, an expression of the generous heart of God. And then Jesus also said in Act 20 verse 35, it's much more blessed to give than to receive. Now, discipleship is all about being Christ-like, and Christ-like is all about generosity. So a mark of a follower, a disciple of the Lord Jesus Christ is generosity. Richard Foster says the following about generosity, and I'd like to quote, giving with glad and generous hearts has a way of rooting out the tough old miser within us. Even the poor need to know that they can give. Just the very act of letting go of money or some other treasure does something within us. It destroys the demon of greed. And I'd like to add, and makes us more like Christ. C.S. Lewis also says, very often the only way to get a quality in reality is to start behaving as if you have it already. That's beautiful. Very often the only way to get a quality in reality is to start behaving as if you have it already. Let's behave generously so we can start developing that quality of generosity in reality, which reflects the generosity of our generous God.